Have you ever wondered if a government could just guarantee a job for everyone? I mean, it sounds so simple, right? Just spend more money, create more jobs. But here's the thing, the economy has a kind of speed limit. And if you try to push past it, well, you're heading for a crash. Let's get into why that is.
So here's the big question we're tackling. When you see people out of work, it seems so obvious. Why can't the government step in, fund some new projects, and hire everyone? It feels like such a direct, common sense solution. But as we're about to find out, creating the jobs isn't the hard part. Making them last is. All right, so let's start at the beginning with that really optimistic, simple policy goal. We're going to follow a government that decides to put this very logical-sounding plan into action.
And the plan's logic seems flawless. First, the government starts spending more money. That means more people are out there buying stuff, cars, coffee, you name it. So to keep up with all this new demand, businesses have to hire more people. And boom, just like that, unemployment numbers start to fall. It looks like a huge success.
And you know what? In the beginning, this works like a charm. It's this immediate boost, a total economic sugar rush. The news reports are great. People are getting back to work. It really feels like the problem is solved. For now.
But we all know what happens after a sugar rush, right? The crash. This is where the plan's hidden cost starts to creep in. A fundamental trade-off that's literally built into the DNA of the economy. This trade-off has a name, and it's a big one in economics, the Phillips curve. You can think of it as the rule book for this early stage. And what it says basically is that in the short run, sure, you can get lower unemployment, but the price you're going to pay for it is higher inflation. Now, when this idea first came out in the 50s, it was revolutionary. By the 1960s, policymakers thought they'd found a magic control panel for the economy. They figured they could just pick their spot, a little more inflation here for a few more jobs there. But then the 1970s happened, and this thing called stagflation hit. That's high inflation and high unemployment at the same time. It completely shattered that simple theory.
But still, in the short term, the deal seems pretty straightforward. You can get more people working, but you have to accept that the cost of living is going to go up. And for a little while, that can feel like a pretty good bargain to make. But that short-term bargain, well, it has an expiration date. And this is the part of the story where the consequences of that initial sugar rush really start to bite back hard. And this gets us right to the heart of the puzzle. If the plan works, even for a little while, why can't we just keep doing it over and over? What's the fundamental catch that stops this from being a permanent fix? Well, the catch is us. It's human nature. People aren't dumb. When the price of everything, gas, rent, groceries, just keeps going up and up, they start to notice that their paycheck doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Their actual purchasing power is shrinking. So what do? They start demanding a raise just to stay afloat. And that one little thing sets off a chain reaction. When workers need higher pay, a company's costs go up. All those extra profits they were making from higher demand, they get eaten up by a bigger payroll. And the result is pretty predictable. Companies stop hiring. Some might even have to start laying people off. And that job boom, it starts to fizzle out. This whole process reveals one of the most important ideas in all of economics. The economy has a kind of default setting, a natural speed limit it always wants to return to, no matter what we do. Economists have a super jargony name for this, NIRU. It stands for the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment. Phew. But all that really means is there's a specific unemployment rate that keeps inflation stable. If you try to push unemployment below that rate, inflation takes off. It's like the economy's natural reset button. Now, this natural rate isn't zero unemployment. You're always going to have some people moving between jobs. Instead, it's the sweet spot. It's the point where the job market is balanced and inflation is just stable. It's not speeding up, it's not slowing down. And no matter what policies you try in the short term, the economy will always gravitate back to this point. The rules of the game are actually pretty simple. If you manage to push unemployment below this natural rate, inflation will accelerate. If unemployment rises above the natural rate, inflation will slow down. But if you're right at that sweet spot, the economy finds its balance, and inflation just holds steady. So this is the key takeaway, the big difference. In the short run, it looks like you have a choice. You can trade a bit of inflation for more jobs. But in the long run, that choice is an illusion. Unemployment snaps right back to its natural rate, but you're stuck with a permanently higher level of inflation. You basically get all of the pain for none of the permanent gain. So what does this all mean for the real world?
for the people in government who are actually trying to make our lives better and manage the economy. This is the tough reality they face.
Well, the conclusion is pretty stark. When you look at the long run, the number of permanent jobs you can create just by spending more money is 0. The unemployment rate will eventually go right back to where it started. The only thing that's changed is that now everyone's dealing with higher prices.
And that brings us to the final, crucial lesson. In the long run, that Phillips curve isn't a curve at all. It's a vertical wall. It's the economy telling us loud and clear that there is no permanent trade-off. You simply cannot buy lasting low unemployment with higher inflation. That speed limit is real. So if we can't just spend our way to zero unemployment, it forces us to ask a much bigger and maybe more important question. If we can't beat the economy's natural rate, maybe the real fight isn't about short-term stimulus at all. Maybe it's about making that natural rate itself better through things like education, new technology, and smart policies that make our whole job market more efficient for everyone.